So the big buzzword today in hardscapes and landscaping field is geotextiles. They can basically be broken down into two different categories. You got your fabrics and you got your grids. The first one is your fabrics. Your fabrics looks exactly like it says, a fabric. What it does do though is it allows water to drain through. Its best application is under some mulches and behind some walls. Now, I know a lot of people have heard in the past you should always use fabric underneath your walkways or your patios so the weeds don't grow through. I'm here to tell you that's one of those old wives' tales. Don't believe it. In my opinion, waste of money. The fabric underneath the sand is not going to stop weeds because guess what? Weeds grow from the top. But where do you want to use fabric? Well, I would use fabric anytime I want to keep the soil stable or not to blend in with other soils. So to give you an example, if I was doing my walkway and I excavated down like this, here's my grass, and I was just going to, again, this is for stone, I would run my fabric down the sides and across and come up. My fabric right here, once I fill this full of stone, it's going to stop that stone from wanting to migrate down and maybe start to dip up here. I'm going to be able to maintain, not very pretty looking stones, but you get the picture. It's going to keep all my stone up here, and as the water, rain, snow comes down, it's going to drain right through and it's going to enter into the ground below it. And so I won't get that puddling effect. I won't have any water stored in here, which in the wintertime, of course, is going to freeze. The grid is the other product. Grid systems are pretty new. The best way I can explain it, they're used behind retaining walls. If you've ever taken apart one of those old timber walls, remember how we always used to see them all over the place, the old timber? And every now and then you would just see the end of a timber. Well, that was because that timber went back into the soil 3 or 4 feet. It was called the dead man, and that was what helped stabilize that wall system. Today, using segmental retaining wall block, we don't have the wood going back, so what we do is we use this grid system, and as you can see, little squares, right? It's got a very, very high pull tensile strength, they call it, between the grids. So as I'm laying out my block, let me draw you a little diagram again. Now I would use this if my wall was, let me make the floor right, was 4 feet or taller. Lousy penmanship, but again, you get the idea. If my wall is 4 feet or taller, so here's my retaining wall system. I would run this grid, I would put this grid in between the courses of block, and all the manufacturers will tell you, for instance, on a 6 foot tall wall, I might run it in between the block, back into the soil, at the 2 foot level and at the 4 foot level. It's because of grid systems like this that you can build segmental retaining walls almost as high as you can go. I've seen examples of 32 foot tall walls where they would use this grid system every other course, going all the way up 28 feet back into the soil. That's the strength of this kind of a grid system. You don't want to use the fabric to do this. The fabric does not have that kind of strength. Again, each product, different applications, different uses. Make sure when you pick out your geotextile, you're getting the right one for the job you want to do.